Well, good evening. Welcome to Drawing Closer to God. My name is Wayne Gautney, pastor to senior adults at Stetson Baptist Church in DeLand, Florida. Today I am in Mount Dora, Florida, about a 30-mile drive from DeLand. And it is a gorgeous city, beautiful. I'll be showing you some of the scenery around here. But this week I wanted to talk about the different times that Jesus would take time for himself to go up in the mountains and just pray, spend time with the Father. And we lead such busy lives that sometimes it's the last thing we think about is taking time to sort of unplug and find a place of rest where we can get our minds out of thinking about the daily pressures and focus more on the Lord and who He is and what He has for us. And so that's what I want to talk about today as we just walk around the city of Mount Dora. Now, Florida's pretty flat, so there are not a whole lot of places. I don't know that Mount Dora deserves the term mount, but I guess compared to other places in Florida, it does have some hills. So we're going to check that out today. Okay, there's Mount Dora. See, there's no mountain there. Come on, there's it's not a mountain. This is Florida. As we look into this idea of spending time with God and also coming to know Him more than we did before. All right, join me on this journey. Here we go. In Matthew chapter 14, just after feeding the 5,000 people with the loaves and the fishes, it says this, that immediately He made the disciples get into the boat and go before Him to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. And after He had dismissed the crowds, He went up on the mountain by Himself to pray. When evening came, He was there alone, but the boat by this time was a long way from land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And so Jesus prayed in this instance from sunset into the night. There were times when He got up early in the morning as well. But the point of it was He was alone. And that was a difficult thing for Jesus at that time because of all of the miracles He was performing, the healing and so forth. People were bringing the sick, the maimed, the demon-possessed and so forth, and He was healing them all. And so there was this massive throng. In fact, there's one point where Jesus gets in a boat and goes to the other side of the lake. By the time they get over there, the crowd had already walked around and met Him there again. So to find time alone was very difficult for Jesus at this time because He had throngs of people following Him. They were following Him for the wrong reasons, but nonetheless, He had no time to Himself, and so He had to make time. And I think that's important for us to do, to make time to be with the Lord. And with our busy lives, with our busy schedules, it's going to take scheduling a time of retreat and rest and just meditation on the Lord. It's great to have a quiet setting. The Bible talks about a prayer closet that you can go into, a place that is set aside for that specific purpose. And so as we think about God and we come to a beautiful place like this, we are in a setting that we're surrounded by God's creation. Everything around me is just shouting out, there is a God. and he is creating the entire universe from nothing, and he is great and awesome and powerful. And so for me, a natural setting like this is the best place to come and just meditate on the Lord. As you read through the book of Psalms, there are so many Psalms that talk about praise to God. They're praising God for not only what he does, but who he is, his character traits, those things that inherently make God who he is. He is omniscient. He's everywhere at all times. He is omnipresent. I didn't say that right, did I? Omnipresent means he's everywhere at all times. Omniscient, he knows everything. And he's all-powerful. There is nothing that he cannot do. As Jeremiah says over and over, nothing is too difficult for him. And all of these attributes of God that are praiseworthy, we think on these things. God is to be our spring, our fountain, like we talked about at Blue Spring, that springboard which propels us into ministry, service, and love for others. It's what gives us our motivation. And spending time daily helps us to keep a clear picture of who God is and a clear picture of who we are. Because when we begin to see ourselves as God sees us, then we can understand that we are nothing. Without him, we can do nothing. But with him, we are, as Paul says in Romans 8, more than conquerors through him who loved us. And he has given us positionally in Christ a position of authority and a position of importance on par with Jesus himself. I don't know what all that means, but it's great and it's an amazing thing. So just think about that as you're meditating on the Lord. Think about that as you're talking to him and praying, because he's going to reveal things to you. He's going to guide you in specific ways to know his will and do his will. 3 things I wanted to mention today that we need to understand when we come to the Lord, when we meditate on him, when we seek him with all of our hearts, and he reveals himself to us. He's going to drive us to do 3 very specific things. The first thing is he's going to drive us to deny ourselves, where Jesus says, take up your cross daily and follow me. This is a daily dying to self. Why is it daily? Because this flesh, in reality, in physical life, is not dying. It's getting worse off every day, I understand, but it's still with us every day. And so every day we have to, in our own minds, make that conscious decision to deny self and to seek the Lord's will for our lives. Because left to ourselves, we want to seek things for our own self, our own satisfaction. But God is calling us to a life away from ourselves, giving ourselves away. And when we do that, he is going to lead us into a great adventure. The will of God is exactly what you would want for your life if you knew all the facts, just like God does. And so he's calling us down to this path of righteousness, this path of victory, this path of glory, and this path of suffering. Yeah, because we're die to self, number 1. Deny ourselves, take up our cross. Number 2, Jesus says in Matthew 28, take my yoke. Now, a yoke was a big collar that they would fit oxen with, and they would be teamed together. So this yoke would be on 2 oxen together. And it was a way of channeling the strength of both animals to push forward and to work as a team. And so Jesus is saying, take my yoke upon you, because my burden is easy and my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And that's because he's doing the lion's share of the work there. But he wants us to cooperate with him in accomplishing his will on a daily basis. So we have the cross, denying ourselves, taking up our cross daily. Number two, we have the yoke that Jesus wants us to take upon ourselves, to be united in service with him and his work. And thirdly, we're to take the towel, just like Jesus took a towel at the Last Supper, and he tied it around his waist, and he went around and washed the disciples' feet. Jesus is calling us to take up that towel of service, and that could be service to your family, could be service to others in the church, could be your neighbors, whoever it may be. He's calling us to take that up and to serve in whatever capacity. And so it's an emptying of ourselves. This whole process it's getting us out of the way so that God can work in and through us. Tonight's drawing is Jesus on a mountaintop overlooking the Sea of Galilee. It's just a very simple silhouette, but wanted to capture the idea of him being up on the mountain in the early morning hours as the sun is barely coming up. And I hope you take some time every day to have your prayer closet or your mountaintop experience with the Lord. It's so important because, like I said, it's a daily dying to self. It's so hard. But when we come close to him, when we get so caught up with him, it's a lot easier to do. Y'all have a great time. Hope to see you next week, and enjoy the drawing. Thanks. Oh my goodness, Mount Dora has lawn bowling. That has got to be the cutest thing since baby ducks. Just look at those guys out there. It's just further proof that if you give men a ball, no matter what kind it is, we're going to turn it into a sport. Y'all have a great day.